All right, this is going to be Geometry Lesson 3-6. We are talking about trigonometric ratios. So what is trigonometry? Trigonometric is the adjective of trigonometry. And this is the study of lengths and triangles. GTH, come on, spell Mr. Sindel. GTH, lengths of triangles. Okay, my pen is not liking me today. Triangles. And more specifically, right triangles. And lo and behold, guess what unit we are in? We are on right triangles for Unit 3, so that makes sense. So here we are in our Unit 3-6, getting closer to 3-9. This is our new standard, J, right triangle trigonometry. So today is going to be just the introduction, the easy peasy stuff. So let's talk about our acronym. Acronym. What does acronym mean again? No. So acronym is just a bunch of letters that helps us remember stuff. So have you ever done one in science like kings play chess on fuzzy green squares, anything like that that helps you memorize the acronym? Or Rory G. Biv to memorize the color spectrum? No? Okay, well, you're about to learn one of the most famous acronyms in mathematics, especially when it comes to trigonometry, and here it is. SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA, the princess of trigonometry land. She's the half-sister of Sacagawea? No, that doesn't make sense. SOHCAHTOA. What does this acronym stand for? Well, there are three trigonometric functions that you need to know. Here are the three. 1. Sine. The abbreviation that we use, so this is going to turn into the abbreviation. We abbreviate it with just 3 letters always. We just take off the E. You always pronounce this sine, like a stop sign. And that's what the S stands for. The second thing that actually I'm going to do this a little bit lower. The second thing that we need, or the second trig function that we need to know, and if you don't like trigonometry, the whole word, just say trig. The next function is cosine, and that turns into what 3 letters would you guess? What 3 letters?
COS.
Yep. Don't ever pronounce this as cos, please. This is cosine. Even if you see these 3 letters, it's still cosine. And finally, guess what letter this one is going to start with?
3.
T. Yep. This is tangent. And what 3 letters should we use for tangent? T-A-N? Yeah, sure, tangent. All right, so again, let's say these with me like kindergartners. On 3, we're going to say sine. 1, 2, 3, sine. On 3, we're going to say cosine. 1, 2, 3, cosine. Say it again. 1, 2, 3, cosine. Okay, and then tangent. 1, 2, 3, tangent. 1, 2, 3 again, tangent. All right. So sine. What is sine? That is O over H. And what do those acronyms mean? Those are, again, helpful. So O, this means opposite. Okay, my pen is dying on me. Opposite. And I should probably be moving these over here. A means adjacent. And what do we have? H is hypotenuse. All right. So all of these, I should probably move this guy over now. Don't know what's going on out there. Okay, so what do these things mean? So far I'm just writing a bunch of gibberish and we have no idea what we're doing. We're just copying it down. Let's go ahead and make a mini triangle on the right. It should be a right triangle. So let's come over here to my right triangle tool. And it should be a solid line. Good. Okay, I don't want it facing that way, so don't draw it like this. I mean, you can, but it's easier and more typical to draw them with their angle on the left. Although I will give you a bunch of triangles that are upside down, sideways, and everything. So assume this is your perspective. Think of this as your eyeball. I am at this point. And, oh shoot, I'm realizing now that I need to move this triangle a little bit to the left because I need a right on the right-hand side. Okay, if this is my angle, then what is adjacent mean? Do you know another word for adjacent? No? Okay, so another word for adjacent is next to. So think of this as next. My adjacent neighbor, my next door neighbor, right next to it. Adjacent always means next. Right next to. So we'll hit adjacent in a sec. I think the easiest one is hypotenuse. Which of these three lengths is the hypotenuse? Which side? 1, 2, or 3? 1. Okay, so this is hypotenuse. Maybe we should just label it with H because that's the letter that we already said. H equals hypotenuse. Okay, and now what if I'm here, this is my point, what is the line that's right next to me? That's not the hypotenuse.
That'll be the bottom.
Yeah, the bottom. This is going to be adjacent. Adjacent is right next to me. And therefore, opposite by process of elimination is over here. So another word for opposite is across. If you don't like the word opposite. So across from this angle, if I went all the way over here, I would get the opposite. And this is, we're kind of reviewing this from Unit 2. We talked about the word opposite, and now we're actually using it more and more. So as long as you memorize this triangle, if this is the angle, this is your perspective. If I change the angle to be up here, it would be totally different. If this is your angle that you're looking from, adjacent is on the bottom, opposite is across from you, and hypotenuse is that diagonal one. So far, so good? All right, so sine, this is a ratio. All of these trig functions are really ratios. So sine, S-I-N, that is O over H. That means I'm going to do opposite over adjacent. It is, sorry, not an A, it is the opposite, this length divided by this length. The reason that I write SOHCAHTOA not all out in words, I write it like this, is so that you can remember that it is O divided by H. It is a fraction. Sine is a fraction of opposite divided by hypotenuse. Therefore, cosine is what divided by what, guys?
Adjacent divided by hypotenuse.
Exactly, yeah. So cosine is adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And tangent is
The opposite divided by adjacent.
opposite divided by adjacent. Perfect. Everything on here needs to be memorized. It needs to be memorized for my class, for the SAT, for calculus, for college. You'll use these a ton. These never go away. All right.
Wait, isn't it
Isn't like the
the
first
first
one?
one is O divided by
Oh, whoops. Yeah, good catch. So, yeah, not SOA. SOHCAHTOA. So remember SOHCAHTOA, remember how it helps you memorize what sine, cosine, and tangent, what their ratios are. All right, now for our example problem, and we can be done with our notes. All right, so in my example, I'm gonna have some triangle. I'm always gonna change where this angle is. I might twist it, I might turn it upside down, so always be prepared for that. I'm gonna make the first one easy. So there's my angle, and you can make this triangle small if you want. It doesn't matter how big it is. And I'm gonna say that this is 3, 4, 5. It does need to be a right triangle. Remember, only right triangles work for all of trigonometry. I should have put a right triangle there. So SOHCAHTOA only works for right triangles. We should probably add that to our notes. only right triangles. Okay, so I need to ask you 3 questions. If this angle here and here's our symbol theta, it kind of looks like the number 0 with a squiggly through it, like a tilde through it. That is called theta, and I'll put that in our side notes. This, not like that. Sometimes you can just do a flat line if you're lazy, but usually it should be a little curvy line. This symbol, you read it as theta. And it's usually, this is a variable that says it's an angle. Usually when you see a theta, you're like, oh, how many degrees is that? Or how many radians is that? What angle is that? I'm being lazy with my notation. So my question now is, what is sine of theta? Sine. Sine, is that opposite over adjacent? Is that adjacent over hypotenuse? Is that opposite over hypotenuse? What is sine again?
Opposite over.
So therefore, what fraction is this? Look on your triangle.
Maybe 4
over 5.
There it is, 4 over 5. What about cosine of that theta?
Would be
3 over 5.
3 over 5, yep. And what about tangent of that theta?
4 over 3.
Yep, 4 over 3. Yep. So I might ask you for a theta at the top. I might twist the triangle. It's always in perspective. All right, you guys get to choose. Do we want to be done with notes with 1 finger? Or do we want to do one more slightly harder example with 2 fingers?
I don't know.
Let's do one more example, slightly harder.
That's all we have to do.
Yep, one more example and we're done.
Wait, is that? Are they gonna get hard homework?
This is the level of difficulty that I'll do on the homework also. Okay. I'm going to call this angle theta as well. Okay, same 3 questions. What is sine of theta? What is cosine of theta? And what is tangent of theta? Okay, so sine of theta, what is that?
Is it y over z?
It is y over z. Chris, cosine of theta.
Would that be y over z?
Mm-mm. So our angle has changed now. Our angle is up here.
Oh.
So what's the angle right next to it, the
X
adjacent?
over z.
Yeah, there it is, x over z. And finally, tangent. Anyone?
Y over x.
Y over x. Yeah. So I know that we have to look at our notes a lot. Try to refrain from looking at your notes as much as possible. Those are there as your backup. All right, that ends the notes. Go ahead and make your summaries. You guys want to say goodbye to the girls? Okay. Yeah, bye girls.